There's only one place on earth where you hear "Gone yourself! Your bum's at the windy." Incentatis. Pure body mate. My favorite one, Jobby. And of course that's Scotland. Today we'll be covering Glasgow, the city my heart still belongs to. For those of you who don't know, I lived for 5.5 years in Glasgow. Glaswegian accent, marvelous Macintosh, vast green parks, breweries, quirky lanes, football. We're going to cover it all. With an estimated city population of 633,000 in 2019, Glasgow is the most populous city in Scotland and the fourth most populous city in the United Kingdom, as well as the 27th largest city by population in Europe. It is the fifth most visited city in the UK. Glasgow grew from a small rural settlement on the River Clyde to become the largest seaport in Scotland and the 10th largest by tonnage in Britain. The city also grew as one of Great Britain's main hubs of transatlantic trade with North America. When you walk through the city, you can definitely feel its strong industrial yet friendly identity. Glasgow is situated on the River Clyde on the country's west central lowlands. The wider metropolitan area is home to over 1.8 million people, which is around a third of Scotland's population. The city has a diverse architectural scene attracting millions of visitors every year, from the city centre sprawling with grand Victorian buildings to the many glass and metal developments in the International Financial Services District. From the serpentine terraces of beige and red sandstone in the fashionable West End to the imposing mansions which make up Pollock Shields on the south side. The banks of the River Clyde are complemented by futuristic-looking buildings, which include Riverside Museum, Glasgow Science Centre, the SSE Hydro, and the SEC Armadillo. Despite its latitude similar to that of Moscow, Glasgow's climate is defined as oceanic. Winter temperatures are usually higher than in most places of equal latitude due to the warming influence of the Gulf Stream. Snowfall accumulation is infrequent and very short-lived. The spring months are usually mild and often quite pleasant. During the summer months, the weather can vary considerably, ranging from cool and wet to quite warm with odd sunny days. Long dry periods of warm weather are generally quite scarce. Overcast and humid conditions without rain are quite frequent. Because of the unpredictability of the weather, it's hard to say which one is the best month to visit the city, but I would say June. The city was ranked as the dullest city in Europe, with less sunshine hours per year than even Iceland. But don't give up on the city just yet. The warmth of the people there would compensate for the cold and rainy days. The city center is based on a grid system of streets on the north bank of the River Clyde. The heart of the city is George Square, site of many Glasgow's public statues and the elaborate Victorian Glasgow City Chambers, headquarters of Glasgow City Council. To the south and west are the shopping sites of Argyle Street, Sauchiehall Street, and Buchanan Street. The last featuring more upmarket retailers and winner of the Academy of Urbanism Great Street Award in 2008. The collection of shops around these streets accumulate to become known as the Style Mile. The rest of the city is divided into more or less three regions. West End, the area west from the city center, East End, the area east from the city center, and South Side. Guess what that is? That's right, the area south of the city center, and more specifically the area south of the river. The shortest way in which I can describe them is West End, elegant tenements, boutiques, upmarket hotels. East End, both historic, somewhat rougher in a way, but steadily improving. South Side, a large urban zone comprised of high-value residential districts, some poorer and dodgy areas populated by ethnic minorities, and vast parks. So let's see what it's like to live in such a diverse city. Glasgow has the largest economy in Scotland, and its GDP per capita of any city in the UK is third, ranking only after London and Edinburgh. The city itself sustains more than 400,000 jobs in 12,000 companies. Glasgow's annual economic growth rate of 4.4% is now second only to that of London. Glasgow was once one of the most significant cities in the UK for manufacturing, which generated a great deal of the city's wealth. The most significant industry used to be shipbuilding based based on the River Clyde. Whilst manufacturing has declined, Glasgow's economy has seen significant growth. Financial and business services, communications, biosciences, creative industries, higher education and retail have all flourished over the last few decades. Between 1998 and 2001, the city's financial services sector grew at a rate of 30% and is slowly closing the gap on Edinburgh, which has historically been the center of the Scottish financial sector. Glasgow is now one of Europe's 16 largest financial centers. A single person monthly expenses are estimated to be around €720 or £617 per month without rent, and you can rent one bedroom flat outside of the city center for approximately £470. However, if you share a flat with your friends, you will be good with £800 per month in total. That used to be more or less what I was spending every month. The average salary is about £2,000 per month after tax, making it the perfect city to save some money. In fact, it is one of the most, if not the most affordable big city in the UK, which also gives you tons of opportunities to advance your career. By the way, the main M8 motorway passes right through the city center and connects with the M77, M74 and M73 and M80 motorways, all of which pass through the city, making all sorts of weird junctions within the city limits. The city has 3 international airports within 45 minutes travel of the city center. 2 are dedicated to Glasgow, while the third is Edinburgh International, which, as it is situated on the west side of Edinburgh, is relatively close to Glasgow. Glasgow is known for its tenements. The red and beige sandstone buildings are some of the most recognizable features of the city. These were the most popular form of housing in the 19th and 20th century and remain the most common form of dwelling in Glasgow today. Tenements are commonly bought by a wide range of social types and are favored for their large rooms, high ceilings, and original period features. Glasgow is a major center of higher education and academic research with the following colleges and universities located within the city limits: University of Glasgow, University of Strathclyde, Glasgow Caledonian University, University of the West of Scotland, the Glasgow School of Art, Royal Conservatory of Scotland, City of Glasgow College, and a few others. In 2011, Glasgow had 54,000 full-time students, more than any other city in Scotland and 5th in the UK. The majority of the students who live away from home reside either in Showlands, Denniston, or the west end of the city. Speaking of students, I think it's about time to move on to the next segment. From my experience, Glaswegians are super friendly and helpful, but yes, it is true you might have some troubles with understanding their accent. It takes a while to get used to it, but once you understand the basic kind of rules of pronouncing certain words and sounds and learn a few slang words, you'll be good. The population of Glasgow is quite diverse since, the city has been a major economic powerhouse for the last 2 centuries. In the 19th century, there were a lot of newcomers from Ireland. In the 1881 UK census, 83% of the population was born in Scotland and 13% in Ireland. In the early 20th century, many Lithuanian refugees began to settle in Glasgow, and in the 1950s, there were around 10,000 of them living in the city. Many Italian Scots also settled in Glasgow, originating from provinces like Frosinone in Lazio and Lucca in northwest Tuscany. In the 1960s and 1970s, many Asians also settled in Glasgow, mainly in the Pollock Shields area, with the highest groups being 30,000 Pakistanis, 15,000 Indians and 3,000 Bangladeshis, as well as Chinese people, many of whom settled in the Garnet Hill area of the city. The city is also home to nearly 9,000 Poles. Because of the city's renowned universities, many international students come to study here. In my course, I would say about 40% were international students. For 5 years in the city, I met people from Brazil, Argentina, Peru, Canada, Slovenia, Slovakia, Scandinavia, Spain, Italy, Greece, Russia, China, Malaysia, Togo, Morocco, Egypt. Well, you get the point. The accent the locals have is called Glaswegian. Well, actually it is more of a dialect than an accent. The reason why is because certain words change their meaning depending on the context. For example, away could mean I'm leaving, as in I'm away. Ginger is a term they use for any carbonated soft drink, referring historically to the ginger beer. Comedians such as Kevin Bridges, Frankie Boyle, Craig Ferguson and Billy Connolly have made Glaswegian humor known to the rest of the world. Now let's finally talk about how we can enjoy the city. The city has many amenities for a wide range of cultural activities, from curling to opera and from ballet to football and modern art. The city's main public library, the Mitchell Library, has grown into one of the largest public reference libraries in Europe, housing more than 1.3 million books. Of the academic libraries, Glasgow University Library was founded in the 15th century and is currently one of the oldest and biggest libraries in the world. The city is also home to a variety of theaters, including King's Theatre, the Theatre Royal, and the Citizens Theatre. There are so many museums and art galleries, with the largest and most famous ones being the Kelvin Grove Art Gallery and Museum and the Burrell Collection. Most of the museums and galleries are publicly owned and therefore free to enter. One thing I learned about Glasgow is that this is the city of festivals. There are so many festivals happening all year round. Some of the most famous ones include Glasgow International Comedy Festival, Glasgow International Festival of Visual Art, Glasgow Fair, Glasgow Film Festival, West End Festival, Merchant City Festival, and the World Pipe Band Championships. Glasgow also has many live music venues, pubs and clubs. Some of the city's more well-known venues include the Glasgow Royal Concert Hall, the Hydro, the SECC, Glasgow Cat House, the Queen Margaret Union, which has Kurt Cobain's footprint locked in a safe, the Barrowland, a ballroom converted into a live music venue, as well as the Garage, which is the largest nightclub in Scotland. There are also a large number of smaller venues and bars, including Stereo, 13th Note, and Nice and Sleazy. Fun fact, excluding London, Glasgow is the most mentioned city in the UK in song titles. Glasgow is also a star location for filming movies. Some famous movies that have been filmed here include World War Z, Fast and Furious 6, The Wife, Outlander, Cloud Atlas. There are almost 2,000 buildings in the city which are specifically valued for their architectural and historical importance. Modern buildings in Glasgow include the Glasgow Royal Concert Hall, and along the banks of the Clyde are the Glasgow Science Centre, the Hydro, and the Scottish Exhibition and Conference Centre, whose Clyde Auditorium was designed by Sir Norman Foster. In 2006, Zaha Hadid won a competition to design the new Museum of Transport. Another fun fact, the first international football game was held in Glasgow in 1872 between the teams of Scotland and England, and the game ended 0-0. Camden Park, which is Scotland's national football stadium, holds the European record for highest attendance. Almost 150,000 saw Scotland beating England 3-1 back in 1937. Of course, everybody knows about the notorious football rivalry between Celtic and Rangers. Rugby, ice hockey, swimming, they're all very popular sports in Scotland. Some of the top places you should definitely visit in Glasgow include Glasgow Cathedral, Kelvin Grove Art Gallery and Museum, George Square and Merchant City, the Necropolis, the University of Glasgow, the Riverside Museum and the Tow Ship, Glasgow Science Centre, Pollock House and Pollock Country Park, Glasgow Botanic Gardens. To finish off this video, I would just say that Glasgow is always worth visiting, and once you've lived there, it will always remain close to your heart. As always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you like this video and stay tuned, more exciting cities are coming up.